What's good? What's good? Welcome back to another
Yo,
episode of
yo, what up?
Unapologetically Black. Never broken, always empowered. I am Brittany, joined by Rich. I'm actually here today. I know you guys miss me or whatever.
No, they don't.
Guess they do.
They don't.
What's good? What's good? And we are being joined today by our guest, Brock Gaines. Thank you for joining
The
us.
homie, the brother
Yeah,
from another mother, the chesty puller of his generation. Y'all know I'm just throwing shit out there, but y'all know who this man
All
is.
the
This man right here
accolades.
he gonna be a living legend. I promise you.
man. I
This is,
appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Glad to be here. Glad to be on. Thank y'all for having me. Thank you for inviting me. This is a great opportunity. I really appreciate y'all having me on.
Oh man, thank you for coming.
yeah.
And gracing us with your time and your presence. I know, believe it or not, I know gunnies get busy. Senior leadership starts to get busy, and I know y'all got a lot of knuckleheads like the young me running around that y'all gotta
Yeah,
stay on top of. But we do thank you for coming out and giving us your wisdom and your foresight on stuff. So we're gonna end out our Veterans Month this month with my brother Gunstar and Brock Gaines. How you feeling today, man? We always do a check in with a mental health check in. How you feeling today, man?
now I'm feeling good. Definitely in a good place, good spot right now. Definitely locked in, just with life itself. I'm in routine, which is good. I'm big on routine as far as with my day to day and my week to week. So being in routine is huge for me. So I don't feel off balance, which is great. Sometimes that happen, right, and sometimes you get that little friction here and there. But right now, I mean, I'm pretty locked in, so I feel good, and I'm glad I had a little bit of time to just chat with y'all. So yeah, I'm great.
That's weird, man, because I live in chaos, which is weird. Like my life isn't going good unless it's chaotic. Like
Yeah,
structure is boring, and I'll be like, I got to do the same shit again today. Like I get bored of that. Chaos
yeah.
fucking thrive. I thrive in chaos. How you doing, Britt? I know that you're not supposed to be here, but
I
because your husband is
know.
doing workly and husbandly things, he can't make it. So how you
Exactly.
doing?
I have to pull the military spouse duties today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm well. I'm well. Today was a long day. I was working. I think this is the most work I've really put in remotely from my home for hours at a time in front of my computer. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but that's the truth.
Mm. Hey, some people be watching. I'm
Right.
not gonna say, not gonna say whose
Always,
boss
I
is
know.
watching, but
always.
somebody's boss
I've been putting my
is
work
watching.
in. But I have been. I've been working. And so yeah, I was tired. Like even before the show, I'm like, let me just doze off for like 20 minutes. But
Mm.
overall, I'm well. Holidays are coming up. Julian's birthday is 2 weeks after Christmas, so we have to get it
Mm.
ramped back up and get it together. So yeah, we're good here. We're good. How you
Okay,
feeling,
that's
Rich?
good. Uh, I'm not gonna lie. It's been a long day, but it's been an aggravating day. Not because of work or because of children, but because of landlords. And we're gonna get into realtors and real estate, but because of fucking landlords and laws that protect landlords from doing the shit that they do.
Mm.
Like, man, like I told you, I've been moving this for the last 2 weeks. I've been fucking moving because I've been too lazy to go get a U-Haul. But I've been moving myself in my truck the whole fucking 2 weeks. And per the 60-day notice that got converted into a 30-day notice out of fucking nowhere. Uh,
Thanks.
Even in the 30-day notice, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like we're out. We got the place, we got the place that we're in now. But I'm cleaning up the house. So that way, there's no cleaning fee. As we're cleaning, she's coming in and legit has a U-Haul, moving her shit in as we are
Wow.
cleaning. Not like afterward. No, as I have trash on the floor, she's bringing in her fucking bed and fucking couch into the house. I'm like, yo, first
Mm.
off, I pay rent till the first.
Right, the
So
whole month.
even if nothing else was to transpire, I still own this place until the first.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even with your six, but I was so aggravated with it and I was so done with it. I'm like, yo, like I'll never lease from another person again. Like that's just I'm not
Mm-hmm.
nah, I'm good
Yeah.
because I think the rule is dumb in the first place. You set, and I'm gonna go off on a tangent, but y'all be okay. You set a lease contract for saying, hey, you're going to live in my house. You're going to pay me rent. Right. And I say, okay, cool. Now, as a person that's renting, if I violate the lease, or if I'm like, nah, I just want to move out, you'll be pissed off as a landlord. Like, motherfucker, we signed a contract. Like, you're supposed to pay me for this. But if you want to move in, don't matter what, you can, motherfucker can be in there for a month. If they're like, hey, I want to move back to my house, they can inconvenience the fuck out of you and be like, yeah, we're just going to give you 60 days to move out. And they'll be like, that's it? Like, what about the contract that says I'm going to pay you, like, right? And all this other shit? Nah. They just like, nope. Well, at least in the state of Texas. I know some states have it where they can't do that. But in the state of Texas, if they own the lease, or if they own the property, if they sell it, or they want to move back in, they should like, fuck it. And I think law should change that shit. Now, I think it's different if you sell it. What? No, not even. You shouldn't even be allowed to sell while you have a tenant inside of it. If you want to sell it, you make sure that it's at the end of the tenant's lease.
Right.
Because you're inconveniencing the person that's there, and you won't give them their deposit back until after they've moved. And you have 30 days till after that to give it back.
Right.
So you're putting one family in a bind because they don't get their money back until later, and you're making them leave in 60 days. You don't know what people got saved up. Luckily I'm well off enough to be able to.
You're rich.
Do these type of move. I won't say I'm rich.
I mean, as in, a play on words. Your name.
I got, if I need to call those at RDI Financial, I'll be good. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just to throw a little plug inside of there. But I just think it's so mean and just tacky to just inconvenience people like that. Like, imagine if apartments did that. They're like, hey, look, we're gonna have somebody else move in. We need you out in 60 days. You be like, what the fuck? So that's my tangent for today. Other than that, I'm good. Kids is good. We got Christmas shit up already. I've been listening to Christmas music all year. So Christmas music don't really.
Yeah, don't get me started on the Mariah Carey.
You don't strike me as the type to listen to Christmas music all year.
Me? But CeeLo Green is.
You're not that cheerful. I feel like you have to be cheerful. I wouldn't call you cheerful.
I am definitely cheerful. CeeLo Green's Christmas album, Tori Kelly's Christmas album, The Temptations' Christmas album, Whitney Houston's Christmas album. Well, first off, Mariah Carey's Christmas album is not even top 5, but that's for a whole nother fucking conversation. That's not even top 5.
I'm with you.
So, but into the discussion for the day, because so go ahead, Gaines, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do right now, and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. So I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, born and raised. Spent 18 years of my life there doing typical high school stuff, playing sports, going to school and all that. Made a decision to join the Marine Corps. Started doing that. Picked that up. Ran with the food service with that. Been doing that for 11 years. But in between that time, in the Marine Corps, definitely held a lot of different billets, done a lot of different things, and definitely been proud of that journey. Set me up pretty well. Just from a mental attack perspective of how I want to go about things in life. Definitely thankful for that in that kind of realm. And then also I do real estate as a realtor, and before real estate, a lot of people don't know that I was already buying a couple of properties and investing a lot of my money and time heavily in the real estate. So funny little story about that is I was actually about to pick up a second job working somewhere. I'm like, man, I need a second job because I need to increase some more cash flow because I want to get more stuff. And then I was literally walking, and I'm like, you know what? This is what I like. This is what I do. Why don't I dive further into this? So I was actually about to get into property management and appraisals, and then I found out how that went. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to jump into just being a real estate agent and becoming a member of the real estate association. So I became a realtor, and that's been what I've been doing as of late. Been doing that plus Marine Corps at the same time, and it's been real good.
Okay. How do those schedules tend to line up? I know Marine Corps life can be kind of heavy at times. Do you find yourself having the ability to do your real estate stuff freely, or is it like, nah, I got to really schedule and keep this thing tight knit?
Yeah, so that's one thing that for those that may be watching and those that don't know, I was a drill instructor. So that's one thing that's really been great about when I was a DI is like that was the main thing is scheduling. Like literally from the time you wake up, or the recruits wake up at 04, like there's a schedule from 04 to 4:15 to 4:30 to 4:45. So all the way to 2000. So it really taught me you truly got 24 hours a day, and what you do with that and how you work that is on you. So I just learned how to manipulate my schedules and get with other people's schedules. So very heavy scheduling, but learning how to stay on top of things and stay on task. So really, with it, it's just a good balance. And then just what it is a lot of people work regular jobs every single day, 9 to 5. People don't just stop their life to go look at a piece of property like average everyday individuals. So really, a lot of things actually happen after I'm off of work, contrary to what a lot
Oh,
of people
okay.
may think or believe. Like some people like, well, how are you doing this and this? Well, really, it just depends. Like, you may take an hour of your child time and actually go sit down and eat. And during my hour of child, I may have an appointment going to go show a townhouse. I just won't eat. I just give me a coffee, handle that, and then I'll be back after my child, and that's it, or after work. So it's just balancing that way. What are you willing to sacrifice? Some people not willing to sacrifice, a meal.
Mm. You are one of our special guests because you're the only one that was a drill instructor, and what that lifestyle is like. If you
Yeah.
could just dive in a little bit as to what that lifestyle was like while doing it. For people that don't know, drill instructors for Marines are kind of like the cream of the crop, man. It's what everybody wants to become. It's who everyone inspires. Everybody remembers their drill instructor. No one remembers their recruiter. Sorry if you're a recruiter, but no one remembers their recruiter. Everyone remembers their drill instructor or their senior drill instructor or their series. Like everyone remembers those guys because they're the cream of the crop. Is what people see. I would say they're the face of the Marine Corps, outside of infantry people, but that's neither here nor there. All right, talk about that, man.
Yeah, man, being a drill instructor it was the best slash worst job I ever had. And it and it really was, man. I tell you, because it was truly a grind. It was, the recruits came first, and you had to give 100% of yourself at all times. There was no looking tired. There was no. It didn't matter what you felt. That was not going to be on display. And essentially, it didn't even, to a degree. Yeah, we take care of our own and take care of each other, but to a degree, it don't matter what's going on. Like that's the priority is recruit training. So you talking about a rugged schedule from 0400 to 2000, and that's when the lights go off. Everything after lights is the meetings to talk about what went well for the day, what went bad for the day, how can we do it better, what needs to be prepped for tomorrow, going to go prep that. Like, so essentially your day ain't even really over till about 21:30, maybe 21:45, and then you back up again at 03, get it ready to be there by 03:45. So, and that's like that for 90 days, or, depending on what company you work in, some people they break it up a little different. But when I was there, it was definitely like that for most of the training cycle. And you woke up in the morning, your body felt like, you was just getting beat up every day. Like you stepped on the ground, like as soon as you stepped out of bed, your feet touched the deck. It felt like somebody just had like a million freaking dangum pins, like sticking them through the bottom of your feet, back pain. Like it it wasn't a pleasant experience from a physical standpoint, but
Right.
from when everything was said and done, when you got that finished product of somebody coming, off the streets of New York or country of Mississippi, wherever they came from, and then they're there, and now they are a short, tall, lean Marine, ready to go, run through a wall head first. You got that. You got a true private or PFC, somebody who's instant, willing, and obedient to all orders, just super disciplined and motivated. There's nothing more motivated. There's not a more motivated person than a Marine that just graduated boot camp. Like, I'm gonna tell you
absolutely.
there ain't another motivated individual. So that was like the biggest thing, man. And I really did love that about the job was the start of training day one and then ending, during graduation and seeing what they became and knowing I put my thumbprint on that product.
Have you ran into any of your recruits while you've been in the fleet?
Oh man, yeah. They're like sergeants now. A couple of them are staff sergeants. I ran into them all over the place, and
some it has been a minute
on Facebook. Yeah, it's been a minute. Yeah, I got off the depot in 2018. So my first push of recruits graduated December of 2015. So they've been in, my most senior one's been in the Marine Corps for like 7 years already. So and they've been in 7 years already, and they staff sergeants. They doing pretty good, like really good. And some of them are sergeants and stuff. But it's been good seeing them progress. I follow some of them on social media and things like that because I want to keep with the next generation, and they keep up with me. So that's been good to be locked in and engaged with them. So it's been cool.
Okay, as much as you can, I want you to kind of dive into what life is like as a Black man in the Marine Corps, on the depot. As much as you can, what are some things you think could be better? Some things that have happened to you that that you've seen personally, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, just in general, just with my personal experience when I was with Bravo Company, man, I can't say that was a company where we were pretty loaded with diversity and inclusion. So, and we really was setting the standard, if you know what I'm saying. So it was pretty great being there. Now, just as a whole, I think we have so there's a Marine Corps standard, right? There's your bare minimum of 3 pull-ups, and I don't even know the bare minimum standards. That's bad because I just never been a bare minimum.
They don't exist, bro.
Like I don't really know. I just know that's the 3 pull-up one just been very big, and I think
I think it's like 27 minutes on the run.
Yeah, something like that. It's just been I don't know, but whatever that is, I'm tying that in to say you have the Marine Corps standard, right, or whatever that is, and then you have the standard that other individuals want to set, right? And when it comes to things of, regardless of color, origin, background, it's the standard that someone else is trying to set for you. Now that speaks volumes on everything as a whole, from being a drill instructor, from being a sergeant of Marines, a corporal of Marines. So what is, when somebody says a sergeant of Marines, oh, you're a sergeant, X, Y, and Z. So is that what the promotion warrant, or is what you telling me what I should be striving to be from your perspective and from what your standard is? So there's a lot of that goes on, and I think we could get better, really from our culture and then from everyone else as well. I think we get better into having and taking what the Marine Corps standard is and applying those values to the individual and helping them get to that point, and not necessarily to what that person's individual standard may be.
So, from a societal point of view, right? Um, in any industry, and honestly, in any industry, and just from me being an HBCU graduate, one of the things they teach you is that as a Black person, we get essentially a different set of playing cards going into society. We're going to be held to a higher standard than our white counterpart. Is that what you feel happens within the Marines as well? Is that something that you've experienced, that you have to reach a higher standard, or just a different set of standards?
So before you answer that, Brock, I'm gonna give you the person that's not in the Marine Corps answer, and before he give you the person that's still in the Marine Corps answer. My answer would be yes. You have a whole different set of playing cards because you come in you already have a chip on your shoulder. And for me, I believe it started in boot camp. I had drill instruction. I went in 2009, and I had drill instructors who were like, "You're Black. You're telling me that you can't run, jump, do pull-ups, like all this other shit." Or they'll say stuff like, "Damn, you can do everything but swim." And then when you look at it, and at the time it's like, oh, it's a laughing joke. But when you actually look at swim call, when we go, the only people that have failed are all Black people. And so they know stuff like they see stuff like that. And so then now when you get to the unit, it's instead of me just being somebody that's upset because something has happened, it's, oh, you got that back on the block attitude. You got that back on the block mentality. I've never heard that being said to a white Marine at all. You're back on the block. For us, this shit was a fucking constant phrase. So I believe that we came in and people automatically looked at us like he's gonna be a problem unless you looked like a nerd. So I've had Marines come in, they wear glasses, they keep to themselves, they go to PT, they go to their room. Like they don't go out, they're not going to, if you're in San Diego, they're not going to LA, they're not going to the clubs out there, they just PT their room. Those guys, they just tend to leave alone. But if you're somebody like me or even worse, they keep their eye on you. And it can be hey, I got to talk to you about, Sergeant McClellan. What the fuck he do now? Nothing. He's just checking in for the unit. Oh, shit. Right? It's like they judge you before they actually know you, which could be bad if you actually fuck up something. And instead of getting that empathy that you would normally give to someone, I believe we get no empathy at all. I believe that our NJP punishments are harsher. Not saying that people shouldn't be NJP, but I believe our punishments are harsher than our white counterparts. I believe that we are not given the second chance like they are. So that's from my perspective. Go ahead, Games. Give the
politically correct answers.
Yeah.
I mean, so just speaking from, my experience is that, when I came in and when I got to my first unit and things like that, it was a lot of people kind of exiting out and leaving from post Afghanistan and things like that. They had a lot of stuff kind of going on. So when it came to me and the guys that I got there with, like, we were just young up and comers. So it was, and then we were all minorities. So we were just trying to progress and get there together. So by the time I got, my sergeant, which I did actually have an experience when I was in 29 Palms, CAX. Sergeant Perrick, definitely. So he was like that great leader that I was like, wow, I'm gonna strive to be like him from a leadership perspective. But yeah, I mean, I was out in CAX and or EMV, and it was this guy named Sergeant Bertrand, and it was he said something to me that was pretty negative, and basically, in a nutshell, he said something to the effect like he would pretty much like fuck me up if I says whatever to him. But basically, one of his Marines came up to me during that time, and I'm like, look, the CO said we can do this. And basically, CO said we go to the Warriors Club. And then, so this sergeant told his Marines that they can't. And I'm like, well, the CO said we could. And he said he would, fuck me up in X, Y, and Z. So I was like, and that's what his Marine told me. I was like, good to go. So I went to my sergeant, who was a white guy, told him about what happened. And literally, he took all of us. We went down there, and like, he handled that shit boss style. And I was like, man. And he's like, if you got a problem with games and you come fucking find me, other than that, then I don't think we got shit to talk about. And I was just like, wow, that was insane. Like, just seeing that happen. So that was number one. But then the other thing too is like, when it comes to like a statistical thing, sometimes that's really what it is. That's what I figured out very early. Like, it's really a statistical thing. Okay, what can I score on this? What can I score on that? So scoring this on the fitness test and scoring this on the range and scoring, like, it's a scoring system as you're coming up. Well, when we were coming up, they have JPEGs now. It worked kind of similar, but we had pros and cons. So on your proficiency marks, you knew if you hit these up on the proficiency side, your PFT, your CFT, your rifle, and all that other stuff, that's going to give you a certain amount of points. And then conduct, that's a little kind of
subjective.
Subjective. It's on the individual. So, but if you got great conduct markings, then you hit that cutting score. Once you have that compiled cutting score, then you make the next rank. So once I figured out that from the ranks of PFC to sergeant, which I was meritorious in a couple of those. So it was like, once I figured out that helped me jump pretty quick. And then from there, it's all evaluations. And I've been graded pretty fairly. It's all a thing of how do you stack the deck, how you look good on paper. But going back to what Brittany said, how did I further separate myself? I mean, I was a staff sergeant with a college degree, martial arts instructor. I've done, I had a 4-year college degree, like, from an accredited university. I've written a book. I've read multiple books on the reading list. I've done a lot of these different things. I've even went to Naval War College PME. So I've done a lot of things to further widen that gap. So all I knew is when it came time for me to get a look for E7, there was no doubt in my mind. Like, I knew that was happening. I just needed somebody to look at my record. I knew that was going to happen. And again, too, it's about what you look at, like the outlook of what others are doing. So if I'm seeing all the E8s and E9s trying to get these things done before they retire, why am I going to wait? So I seen that as an E5, and I'm seeing E8s and E9s trying to do college before they're retiring. That's telling me something. And then when I got further insight and knowledge, like, okay, they're trying to line up for a job. They're trying to line up for a government position. They're trying to line up for better pay, or trying to match the pay that they had while they were in when they get out. I need to be doing it too. I don't have to wait. And again, prioritizing my time. And that's another thing that I learned early on. So yes, the decks in all that we do are already stacked against us. In general, like in all that we do, that's already there. It's all about, can I take this hand and how am I gonna play it? So, because some people, you can have a loaded hand when it comes to spades, and if you don't know how to play, you're gonna look across the table and like, dog, what are you doing? Like, so, because you costing the team. So, but you learn how to play that hand, you know what cards are dealt. I mean, hey, It's willing and dealing at that point.
Right, and I get that. I do. There is a lot of self accountability that a lot of people have to do. I just feel like again, it's more of that second chance type of deal where if I fuck something up, you know,
Oh yeah,
if I
we
fuck it up,
definitely
they're more
run
willing
people
to
up
be
the
like,
flagpole
nah,
pretty
bro.
quick. Yeah, we run
Yeah,
people
like
up the flagpole pretty quick from in the Marine Corps. Now, I will say that like we have a kind of a no defect mentality, where your career can kind of be going down the drain pretty quick for something that could probably be very, very minor and likely.
minor as fuck.
Yeah, and it's like, oh well, and depending on certain factors, like once they find out, that's it. They already want to run you anyway. I mean, that's just what it is, and certain things can ruin your career.
And that's why I like when people are like, oh, I'm going to do 20 years. I'll tell every young Marine says that. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do 20 years until they do 2 years. And then they realize, no, the fuck I'm not. No, the fuck I'm not. Because what happens is even at 10, so I got out at 10 and they were like, well, you only had 10 left. I'm like, 10 years is a really long time to fuck shit up. Really long time. Considering that I can go 18 years, have one mistake and ruin the entire 18 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on one, what you did. And then two, I'm going to say it's where you're at and who's running the show at the time. If you, if I constantly butt heads with my RO over and over again, the likelihood of me, getting away with some stuff is a lot lower.
Right.
But it just depends on who's running the show at the time. But I just feel like when our white counterparts do the same, they're more likely like, all right, don't do that shit again. Like, you're not going to get a stellar fit rep, but it's not going to be an adverse either. Don't do that shit again. Where us, it's more like, oh yeah, no. Is there a reason I can give you an adverse? And now you have to change my mind from there.
Yeah, and I think the worst part about that is when you do have a tainted military career, it literally affects the rest of your life. It's not like any other job you have where you might have, a code of misconduct or whatever. They let you go and you move on and do the same job somewhere else. Like you don't have that opportunity. And I feel like when people are entered into that lifestyle so young, that is their first job, essentially. They go straight into the military, like we talked about in previous episodes. That's daunting. that even leaving there and going to McDonald's, they're going to question you why this happened in the military.
Right. So. And the thing is, anything I'll be more realistic because a lot of people say anything other than honorable discharge is bad, but I would say anything other than a general, right? So you have honorable, then you have general under honorable conditions, right? That probably just means that you just got in trouble for some shit, but it wasn't bad, right? It wasn't. So, but that's where the buck stops. General under honorable conditions. That's where the buck stops. Anything lower than that, not only is your career pretty much gone, but your benefits, you could have gotten hurt. Like the VA isn't giving you anything with other than honorable. You lose all of your benefits. Other than honorable, dishonorable, bad conduct discharge, this, that, like all of those things, like you can say goodbye to your disability. You can say goodbye to your VA, your GI Bill. Say goodbye to that home loan that you thought you were going to get. That's gone. If you gave away your GI Bill, say to your spouse or whatever, and you get kicked out, you have to pay that back.
Right.
Along with the wasted time, however long you've been in, that's already been served.
Yeah.
So it's I think the civilian world harshly critiques veterans when they get out. I think that's something that possibly should be changed as well. Don't get me wrong. I don't automatically turn my nose up to someone that gets an OTH. A lot of us talk shit between each other when we get out. Like, oh, what'd you get? Oh, I got an honorable. If you didn't get an honorable, you shouldn't be, don't say nothing on Veterans Day because you don't have a fucking honorable. When I personally believe a lot of them don't act honorably while they're in. But that's a conversation for a whole nother fucking day.
True.
I don't turn my nose up to those that get an OTH. It depends on why. You know what I'm saying? Why did you get it? What happened? What, and I think that jobs and even federal jobs, OTH is other than honorable.
Okay.
So other than honorable means that you didn't do anything bad enough for them to give you a dishonorable, which means that you probably didn't go to court and get told, hey, you're going to get kicked out. because you shot somebody, you've had a felony, right? So dishonorable discharge typically comes with a felony offense of some sort. Where other than honorable means that you just fucked up really, really bad. They can't write you a felony, but most likely it's a misdemeanor, and so you're going to get out with that. But the thing is, I think even when it comes to federal jobs, they should do a better job at the interview process of why did this happen? Why did you get the general unhonorable conditions? Oh, I got into a fight at work with a coworker, right? It was just really bad. And now, like to me, I'm like, oh, that's it? I'm like, yeah, but they didn't want me in the unit. I got kicked out. So that's what happened. Like, oh, I mean, that's no reason why I can't hire you here. Like, you fought him there. That had nothing to do over here.
He don't work here.
Especially if I look at your record and you don't have a history of bad behavior, or if you don't have a history of being violent, you just had that one fight. But in the Marine Corps, that one fight can definitely get you kicked out, depending on who you fought. If you slap your staff sergeant and you're Lance Corporal, yeah, you're most likely getting kicked out. Or if you're enlisted and you slap your officer, you're most likely getting kicked out. But if I try to go to become a mailman at a post office, federal job, like what the fuck? I work by myself. I'm not slapping anybody.
I hope the mailman ain't going around slapping people.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that that there should definitely be better guidelines in place for those that get out when it comes to their discharge papers, when it comes to their discharge code. I think it should be the same when it comes to enlisting into another branch. Most likely, you get the enlistment code where you can't re-enlist into another branch. And my question is always, what the fuck does the Marine Corps have to do with the Army? Like, I don't understand why I can't go there just because I fucked up here. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What difference does it make? Now, maybe Gaines, you could kind of enlighten me as to why it is that way.
That I have no clue. I cannot speak to that, but I have heard of it. But yeah, I have no clue. And I mean, sometimes we got to do, like requests to do, inter-service transfers to other branches and things like that. Which some of the other branches, they have a lot of cool programs, man, that we just don't have. I'm talking about everything from, you name it, something medically related, mental health related, physical therapy. They just have all that. Like you can, how cool is this? If you would have known you can go to the Air Force and be like a physical therapy like assistant and work your way up and then become a physical therapist. Now you have something that's actually conducive to the outside world. You can transfer it there, make a nice career path for yourself. Or if you have knowledge, like let's just say you're in the Marine Corps and you have a degree, you have a bachelor's degree in psychology, you want to get your master's in social work. Well, you can go, there's different programs in the Army and the Navy and the Air Force where you can go from the Marine Corps, go to, like, for example, the Army has it where you could go to the University of Kentucky or it's another college out in Texas you can go to. They will pay for you to go there, finish your master's degree in social work and become a social worker in the Army full time. And then you're going to get paid the equivalency. So you're not going to come in as like first lieutenant with enlisted experience. No, you're going to come in at, let's just say, Captain 03 level with enlisted experience, because their programs will match the pay of what you would get in the civilian world,
right,
for having that certification. So they actually like invest in you, which is cool things that I actually know. I actually kind of looked into some of the programs. So they're out there and available, which we have to request to go, but you kind of roll the dice. So
I feel like other branches do better at job tracking, which is a thing where, like being a cook, being able to track my hours, being able to track my positions, my billets, what I've done. The Marine Corps doesn't really put that at the forefront of like, hey, you guys know you can do this, right? So when you get out and you go to this job, you have that on your resume. It's tracked for you. You gain the experience. I don't really think they put that at the forefront. And I believe that a lot of the the good jobs that translate to civilian world in the Marine Corps are reserved for officers. Officers have a lot of those jobs that translate to the civilian side of things, right? That's why I believe I see a lot of military people, Marines, when they get out, they become a police officer because most of our job is policing. Most of our job is stuff that deals with that. Or I have to get out and go to school still because I have no experience in anything else other than whatever my job was for the last 4 years. So if I was a cook, I have to get out and go get another job at a restaurant because that's the only experience that I have, because no other experience that I've done is tracked. Even though I could have done martial arts. I was a martial arts instructor, courtesy of my boy Gaines. I was a martial arts instructor. And I'm like, okay, well, I've done this, I've done that. And they'll be like, okay, well, you got 2 options, career field options. You can become a cook or you become a security guard / police officer with the training that you've done.
So my question is, why do you think that is, that it seems like the information is almost like gate kept, or the benefits aren't explained to the full capacity of how you can utilize them while you're in, and honestly even after you're out?
For me, for Marines, it's because our goal is different. Our mindsets are different. We have traditional mindsets where our job is to seek, close, and destroy the enemy. Like that's our job. That's what every Marine is, a rifleman. No, regardless of your actual MOS, right? So that's what we focus on. Combat warfare. That's what we focus on. Where a lot of jobs in the Army, like if you're a cook, you're not focused on combat. You're focused on being a cook. If you are a librarian, not saying there's anything wrong with being a librarian, but that's what you're focused on. Where Marines are focused on combat, and then it's almost like, for a lot of part, it's almost like combat's first, and then your MOS is kind of secondary, depending on what you're doing, right? When you go out in theater, they're more worried about patrols and combat, and then like what your job is. Unless your job is a high level job where you have to do that first, like comms, S1 type of stuff where you like your job is necessary to the mission. But I believe a lot of Marines, it's combat first, then their job.
Okay. Yeah. And I asked that, and I'm gonna ask the question a little differently to you, Brock. But I asked that because with Jamal, and he's former Army, National Guard, a lot of his views on his benefits, as we're learning, honestly, through the podcast, are wrong, right? And one of which being the VA loan and how it can be utilized, and the fact that it can be repaid and utilized again. And these are things that he didn't know. And I know he can't be the only person who doesn't know that. So with you being in real estate and seeing veterans use the VA loan and how they use it, as far as the information on that, is there a reason why you think people don't know how to use it, or that they can use it to even get into real estate to an extent?
Well, really, what it is, a lot of times, so when people are joining the military and they're going in, first thing is you going in and you're like, I want a job, I want some security. That's the first thing you're thinking about. The next thing from there is, okay, I got the job, I got the security, I'm a part of the organization, I want to advance. That's the next thing you're thinking about after that, is advancing. So by the time you get to, and then you have everything in between, your friends and going out and partying and meeting people and all these other things. So by the time you get to thinking about life in its totality of how can I create some wealth for myself? How can I boost this? That's then when you want to ask the question. So it's not really your leadership's responsibility is to help you mature, advance, become a better soldier, Marine, all that other stuff. Not to necessarily educate you on your VA loan and things like that. But once you do want to unlock that box, then there comes many things for that. So you do get a family, you want to buy your first house and all this other stuff. That's generally when it happens. Somebody gets a family or they start to settle down a little bit and then they're like, okay, I want to buy my first house. But when you're looking at it from an investment perspective, I got 2 houses on a VA loan. Like currently 2 on the same, like, and that's the other thing. People like, oh, like, how many VA loans do I got? No, you have a VA entitlement. And my VA entitlement for my rank at the time was like $553,000 or whatever it was. So I got 2 homes on that entire entitlement that both are bringing in rent money, that both are cash flowing, that are bringing me extra income every single month. Right. And so out of one of them, I pull like $40,000 out of one of them. Don't have to pay taxes on it or anything like that. So learning just how to like game the game and all this other stuff. So it gets really deep, but really what we have to do and what we should be doing is once you get to a certain part or area, I advise everyone, especially if you're going to be sticking around for a while too, at that, get you a piece of property in one of these areas that you're getting a station at and everything like that, and start creating that kind of residual flow for yourself. But also think about it. If Rich bought a house and he did 10 years in the military and he sold that house after 10 years, he would have well over $100,000 easily, hands down, probably close to maybe 200, depending on where it's at, how long he had it, and all of that. But let's just say, for everything what it's worth, you bought a home your 5th or 6th year in. Like, in this current market where people's like, oh, well, the housing market isn't that great right now. Well, I just had a dude who had a house for 3 years on his house in a, average neighborhood, nothing too crazy. He made $130,000 off that house and he bought it 3 years ago.
Wow. That's nice.
So, and it's about movement, right? So I bought a house I bought that house in 2020. That house I bought in 2020, I bought it for $230,000. I put $20,000 of work into it, but this is what it's worth without all that even being taken into consideration of what actually been invested into the property. Like that same house in 2020 that was worth $230,000 is now worth $280,000. Like, that's how much it appreciated. And again, if I would have been hesitant, if I would have been like, well, I don't know, X, Y, and Z, I knew at a certain point, like, I'm all in with this. Right? So everybody finds their thing that you go in, you're after, like, you're locked in. And with real estate, for our military, active veterans, everyone as a whole who has this entitlement, it can unlock a lot of doors for you. Like, even if you had a piece of property and you sold it, let's just say, even if you only made like $40,000, $50,000, now that VA entitlement is reset, you made $50,000. You didn't have to put any money down. So the next time you go into a deal or you want to get that dreamy forever home for you and your spouse or your family, now you don't have to worry about getting beat out because you're going on a VA deal. Now you have, hey, we're going to do this and we're also going to put, $10,000, $15,000 down on this. Then that makes your offer more enticing. That makes the deal gonna get done a lot. Everybody's gonna, entertain you more and be like a lot more locked in, and you just have a lot of more capital that you didn't have before, and you got it literally for nothing. And by for nothing, I mean, the conventional way, most people out here, when they go buy a house, the lowest they are required to put down is 3.5% for an FHA. The VA loan, you don't have to put anything down.
Nothing.
closing costs, that's a whole separate thing. That is taxes, that's insurance, that's, attorney fees if you live in an attorney state, title fees, all that other stuff. That's all that. Mortgage fees, that's closing costs, that's separate, which I've gotten a lot of people, from upwards to like $11,000 back in closing concessions. 11,000, 5,000, 8,000. And sometimes the closing concessions aren't even that much, but they've been covered completely. So it all depends on who you work with, who you work for, and what they know. So I've done enough deals to know, and being in different markets to know, like, hey, this works and this can work for this market. This can work for that market. So it just depends on like where we're at. But the knowledge, when people want to get tapped in, they're usually further down the road or have already transitioned.
Mm-hmm. Are you on the East Coast? Are you near Lejeune?
Yeah, I'm actually back at Paris Island now. I'm working over on the Marine Corps Air Station on Beaufort here. So I'm the logistics chief for H&HS right now.
So what is your, as a real estate agent, do you have a high, I would say, turnover rate where you got a lot of Marines coming in looking for houses, a lot of Marines leaving? Do are you like the guy that they go to, like, oh yeah, just call games, like, yeah, like the plug for a lot of it?
Well, I mean, a lot of people would think so. I would think so, but like, contrarily, not really. People get lost in maybe people they may see on social media, which working behind the scenes. I know some of these individuals aren't as great as they think they may be, but really and truly, I'm not really necessarily like the go-to guy in my area, but I'm known for doing good work. I'm known for making things happen. And also a lot of my clients have been just referrals from other people that I've worked with, telling them like, hey, like, I know you've thinking about buying some stuff, but here, or I know you probably had a bad experience, but here's Brock, like, this dude's awesome. And then so we have a conversation, and generally once I speak to them, then it's all good from there. So a lot of my referrals just literally been from people I don't even know, and like I've never met. And I would think like I would have a lot of more crossing paths with people that I did know, but not really.
Not really. So are we still going for the 20 years?
Yeah, going for the 20 years. I'm rolling it through. I mean, for me, it's a lot. It has a lot to deal with my competitive nature, because I've always looked at this as a sport when I first came in, which is weird. But I've always been always been big in sports and competing. So I never had like envy or jealousy of anybody or nothing like that. You know me, so there's never been nothing to me. I always, hey, hideaway boy, like I always been good time.
So I can tell you, I've never been a jealous person, right? Like I'm always happy when you or Thomas or some, or I even seen I seen Pawn not too long ago. I'm always excited, but I think a little back they were like, you know what, like what if, I think a lot of that happens with a lot of people. Do you ever find yourself saying, what if I had did this and did this full time, or do you think you're good where you're at?
I think I'm good where I'm at, because I had one situation where, like, just in life in general, like I wanted to do something, like I had an idea and I didn't act on it, right? And like by not acting on it, like I missed out on like a lot of capital. I missed out on a lot of like opportunity, where if I would have acted on it in that moment of time, in that capacity of where all that was connecting, it would have been great. So really for me is, because of that, I've learned to appreciate the seasons that I'm operating in, the times of life where I'm currently at, and making the most out of every single opportunity, which is why I still hang around the Marine Corps. So it's like I'm truly am at a point in the Marine Corps where is how can I continuously be the best of me that I can be, and to be that leader for the Marines who haven't had that type of leadership, who hasn't had someone like me to come across them, or who, maybe somebody we wanted when we were PFCs and as corporals. So that's why I stick around, especially at this point. It's just really it's about the Marines, really, for me. When it comes to the Marine Corps, it's just about the dream Marines and those who I always say I work for them. They don't work for me. So those who I work for.
Yeah, every senior leader says that.
I mean, it's a true thing. I mean, because at the end of the day, the way I look at it is, you can go to work and you can literally go there and punch a clock and knock out your taskers and go on whatever meetings you got to go to, and that could be it. Or you can go there and you could be the spearhead for all of these individuals who have things that they need someone to help guide them through and help get it taken care of. And just like we was talking about with the VA loan, like how come like so many people don't know about like the benefits just of that one benefit alone. Like, we got so many Marines, especially now, these kids coming up through this generation of tech, they don't know how to deal with everyday normal life things. Like something happens that could be very normal in our way of growing up. That's not normal to them. And they need help.
So, if you could give us, I got about like 2 more questions before we wrap up. But if you could give a little bit more information about the VA home loan, right? Because for those that don't have one, is there a minimum credit score for a VA home loan?
So most time, it really depends on the lender. But if you look up a lot of information, out there, like some will say like there's really no minimum score. But to be quite honest, frank with you, most lenders that I've seen it at times where they approve maybe like 620s, 600s. I even seen like a 595. But a lot of that is really dependent on, because the credit score is so many factors. So a lot of that is really dependent on the debt to income ratio. That's really gonna break out like, okay, what can the banks really do for you? Or not even what can they do for you based off of this data. What do they want to do for you? What are they comfortable lending? So I always tell my people, like, regardless of whatever thing you looked up on, whether it's Credit Karma or whatever app you looked up, don't get too wrapped up in that. I mean, it's great to use as a baseline if you want to use that, like kind of get an idea, but it's always great to talk to a lender when you get into that point where you think like, hey, you know what, I want to try this, or at least get to see where you are, talk to
where you
a
are
lender
in life.
And go ahead and let them run everything so you can see where you stand and where you need to be. That way you can establish the goal of where you need to get to. But every lender is different. So that's why I say like it's just very important that you talk with that lender, that loan officer for that loan, at least to get where you need to be. Because I mean,
so
that happened to me when I bought my second property, right? Like of course, that was funny. So like I had just bought a new car and I had bought some other stuff, and then they were like, "Oh man, your debt to income ratio, your credit scores look great, but we can't approve this." Sold all that. Boom. No. Bye. No. Like, and then after like another like 30 or 45 days, once my credit score, I mean, not necessarily the score updated, but
once the report updated,
they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you $300,000. Here to go." And then I had a client one time. It was like, yeah, they told her like, yeah, if you just pay this much down on this, you pay this much down on that. Because a lot of times we think, oh, we just need to pay everything off. No, like if you pay this much down on this and this much down on that, and maybe pay this off, then yeah, we can make it work. And then like she got like $360,000 or 400 grand, whatever it was, unlocked for her to use. So, yeah, talking to those lenders are important.
Okay. And Brittany, do you have any other questions?
So I have one last question. Before we went on air, we were talking a little bit about Veterans Day and kind of the, for lack of a better word, like awkwardness that specifically Jamal, but other veterans have expressed when, you know, people are like, thank you for your service. And they don't want to have this inflated sense of self, or really don't even want to be recognized, because that's the only day they feel like they are recognized in certain circumstances. So as far as what that looks like, one of the things that someone told me at a veterans event is what they always respond with is thank you for your support. So when, you know, someone's like, thank you for your service, their response is thank you for your support. So how has the support been in the area you are? How do you feel military support is in your area? And then the other thing is that I always kind of joke around with Jamal, and you can say if you feel like there's any validity to this statement, but I always say that he's dark skinned white. So in the world, once they find out he's military, he gets a separate pass of, you know, your average nigga. So do you see that in your everyday civilian life?
Yeah, I definitely. I don't think there's no one on the planet can say like they've never like experienced it. Like, yeah, that is like kind of like the number one. Like, I mean, you can just do it any other time. Like, you can do it in whatever town or wherever you at. You can just wear regular clothes and see how you're treated, and then you can just throw on, you know, your uniform, and then, you know, throw on your, you know, dress uniform and go to the airport and watch how you treat it. It's just
way different.
It's just totally different. And as far as like the support, yeah, that's huge. Thank you for your support. I think that's huge because, you know, whether what aisle you sit on, when it comes to our world and where we are, and no matter what state you live in, things and climates and wherever people may land is just very different. So there's not always support for the military, but there's truly one factor that brings a lot of people together, is that's having some sort of relative or somebody before or somebody actively in their life that's serving. So, and a lot of individuals who don't really support that, they don't have that kind of going on, or maybe it's a little trauma, but they don't have that going on in their life, so they're not able to really connect with it, and they still, regardless of values, beliefs, systems, wherever they come from, and still support. So when you have those that out there supports the military, it's huge, because people are, I mean, there's plane crashes happening, there's mishaps happening, you know, incidental fires, just people getting hurt all the time, vehicle rollovers. There's a lot of things that happen on bases, and a lot of things that happen in military families that people don't really know or understand what's going on, and it doesn't necessarily hit headlines because it may not just be the flavor for the week. So that's why the support and telling individuals thank you for their support is huge, because it does mean a lot, and it means a lot to those service members and their families, for sure.
Yeah, I tell them you're welcome. When people say thank you for your service, I say you're welcome.
I know, and that inflated sense of self does not affect you in any way, shape, or form.
Nope. Nah,
it feeds
I like
your
it.
ego. I know.
I did this for a reason. I did this so I could get my free meals once a year at IHOP. You know, that's why I did this. But now I often have to fight myself coming through the airport. You know, I go through Charlotte a lot because my wife's from Gastonia, and just watching all the kids come through in their Alphas or in their Charlies, and I'm just like, I'm not in anymore. I don't care. I'm not in anymore. I don't care. Fuck. Hey man, come here real quick. Hey bro, like, look, fix this. All right, look, Ty goes here, bro. Take that jacket off because you look stupid. Fix this, bro. Look, you understand where you're at. This is Charlotte. You know how many bases are near Charlotte's or fucking Jacksonville's fucking airport? At least 6.
Mm-hmm.
At least. You know, every military personnel that comes through, just about 90% of people that go through Jacksonville Airport are military related. So I'm like, come on, man, y'all gotta fix yourself. But neither here nor there. We're gonna wrap this thing up with our final infamous question. Brock Gaines, how old are you right now? 20, 30?
30, sir.
30.
Yeah.
You meet 18-year-old you. What do you tell him?
Man. 18-year-old me, just I would honestly tell him to keep the goals, keep the pedal to the metal, but most importantly, don't take moments and don't take people in your life for granted. And the reason why I say I would tell myself that is because I've had so many people like yourself and moments like me and you had. I mean,
Yeah.
just so many moments with Marines and people in general around the globe where like those times, those individuals were in my life, and we had like the moments that we had were great, phenomenal, like and some of the highlights. So just to cherish those a little bit more and be more engaged. But yeah, I would definitely, yeah, I tell 18-year-old me to definitely cherish those moments and keep the pedal on the metal, man, and keep going. So
Yeah. I don't remember the name of the bar, but
yeah.
Fort Lee definitely knows us. I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
yeah. 'Cause yeah, Hideaway, yeah, man. And
The
one thing about
Hideaway,
me,
yeah.
and one thing about me when I was 18, like I didn't know where none of this was taking me. Like I was hoping it was gonna be somewhere like this. So that's why I say, pedal to the metal is vague, but that's why I say keep the pedal on the metal because I was going hard, but I didn't know what I was going hard for. And I'm glad it's been working out. So, but thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you all for everything y'all doing for us, for the culture, for just everybody worldwide. I really appreciate y'all, and thank you for having me on.
Oh man, thank you for joining us. Like we said, Brittany, you can go ahead and take us, take us
Take us
home.
out. All right.
Take us out like you always do.
So this episode and every episode is brought to you by RDI Financial. Make sure you hit up
Okay.
rdi-financial.com for your credit and financial needs. Make sure you guys hit us up on all forms of social media. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I feel like I'm Twitter. So like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube, everywhere you listen. Check us out. And until next time, Saturday, Shit Talk Saturday.
It will actually be on Saturday this time. I
It
will
will
not.
actually be on Saturday. And then I'll be putting out the December calendar tomorrow because it's almost December. So you guys will know what's coming out. But until next time, my voice doesn't want to cooperate. But stay safe, stay healthy, and stay unapologetically Black. Have a good night.
Gang.